What's going on, everybody? So today I want to talk about the new optimal path, or at least some strategies that I think are really amazing and maybe a little underrated, just because of how focused people were on that potion power in the previous patch iteration. So if you guys did not know, the main change of the patch notes as of yesterday, as of recording this video, was that the potion drinking effect would give you a random pylon or shrine. Basically, people would reroll for things like empowerment shrines or conduit pylons. I keep saying shrines, but conduit pylons, empowerment pylons, where you would just run through and you would just zip zip everything in the entire Greater Rift. It would just be insane, and honestly a lot of unfun re-rolling for that specific power. Now you have a chance to get a dimensional power pylon effect for 16 seconds, or a random shrine, which is a lot less powerful. But they buffed some other nodes for increased damage. So now I think there actually is a few options to where I don't feel like you have to go for the pylon, at least potential chance. You don't have to go for that immediately because there's so many other options now. So hopping over to the D3 planner, they have the final build out. So thank you to Calico here, right here, guys. Oop, there's the Discord. If you guys want to, I don't know, send them a message or say thank you for the planner. It's absolutely amazing. But right here behind me, you're going to see the first 10 slots filled in. This is because I think these 10 slots are pretty non-negotiable. I think most people will consistently say this is the optimal path. No matter what you are going to be doing, you absolutely want to do this. It's incredibly important. There's two things in here that I think are incredibly important. One is the progress orb. You absolutely want to rush this because it's just going to speed up everything that you do. Every Greater Rift that you do, every gem upgrade that you want to do, every piece of set gear that you want to farm, every ancient that you want to find, everything that you do is going to be sped up by getting the extra progress orbs. This is why it's so important. On top of that, bounties ×2. It's the same thing. It's going to speed up anytime you want to look for some specific craft. You want to look for, I don't know, maybe potentially your rings of royal grandeur. You want to get like maybe multiple copies for one to have in your inventory, one in your cube, something like that, whatever it is, or just sacrifice to the altar. You're going to want it. Not only that, but there's also a few nodes on here in the altar that require a ton of bounty mats. You get around, I think when I was doing it, you're gonna need to do like multiple runs, like around 5 or 6 runs to get the bounty mats for level 11 here. And if you have 2 times bounty, that can cut in half. You know, you can go 3 bounty runs, which is really insanely powerful because you don't want to be running bounties. Like, bounties aren't the worst thing to do in the game, but you start to outpace them and you start to make them basically a lot less useful than just speed running Greater Rifts. So getting bounties ×2 is incredibly important. And then of course, any damage nodes down here are super important. And early game nodes, I'll say, things like the node level requirement, the permanent XP pools, the movement speed. These two can be swapped around. I think the movement speed can be more valuable than the permanent XP pools, but regardless, you're gonna wanna pick these up as early as possible, right? All of this stuff has already been, I guess you could say, mentioned, talked about, and gone over quite a few times. I think there's nothing to really disagree with this one. The big change, along with the pylon effects, though, is that this node is, instead of being a 15% damage node, we can just pop back over here, you can see it is now a 30% damage node. If we look here, it says R right here, and if we put on the labels, you can see this is R. So R now doubles up on the damage, which means that going for the progress orb is that much better. It is literally insane to go for this progress orb because not only are you getting a massive damage increase now, but you're also getting the progress orbs themselves. And guess what? You have access to triune circles, which is actually a quite solid buff. It is a little random, which makes it a little awkward, right? If we pop back over and look at the potion effect, you're going to manifest 1 of 3 runic circles for a random bonus, and that could be potentially good, potentially kind of mediocre, but it still gives you access to at least using your primordial ashes early on into the season, unless you want to upgrade a rare item into primal. But then we have the next part, which is, okay, if I have 10 little nodes here and I can only do 4 more nodes, right? Because assuming we're going to get that challenge rift cache, we're going to use it, what 4 nodes would I like to use it on? And my suggestion here can actually be a couple things. First off, you can actually still go down to the pylon effect and grab Kadala legendaries ×2. If you're gonna go for that, you may just want to go for like ultimate quality of life, right? Because to me, Kadala legendaries, 2 times chance can be decent, but I think that that's less valuable to someone who really wants to push the game. And so if you're gonna go for this, I'd recommend going for like auto pick salvage, and then maybe going for something like just elite damage. I think that's a pretty solid situation to go for. I think that right there is a pretty casual, friendly, really solid tree to focus on before getting your second Challenger of Cash, right? I think this is totally fine. This is going to help you build up multiple characters if you care about that. This is going to help you build out your first character if you care about that. It's going to give you a little bit extra damage. It's going to make your life a lot easier. Now here's something that I think I might go for because I want to push the damage limits on a lot of my builds. And that is 20% damage here, because again, this node doubled in damage, 20% elite damage, and 15% elite damage. I'm going full on elite damage and just flat damage. I think this could be a very, very solid strategy for the average, I shouldn't say average player, but for the player that wants to push their builds to the absolute limit and get as much damage as you possibly can out of them. Now keep in mind that you're not going to be able to get your shrine/pylon power effect if that's something that you care about and you do want to re-roll for those power pylons, because it's still going to be a strategy to go out and roll for the 16-second power pylon at the very beginning of the match, right? That's still going to be a strategy. But it is something that I think is going to be less appealing now because the payoff isn't as big. So this is something that I think I will be going for myself to get as much damage out of this altar as possible. You're looking at 15% elite damage, 20% elite damage, so a total of 35% elite damage, and 20% flat damage all the time everywhere, which is going to help you a lot if you still can't farm T16 as fast as possible, or maybe you're using your maybe you want to use a faster build, something that moves faster, but you don't have the damage to really bump it up into the next tier. This will help us out a lot. Because again, we're looking at pretty simply only a few days into the game. And keep in mind that level 13 here, 1300 blood shards, is just Greater Rift 80, which isn't really that deep into the game. It's only post kind of T16 comparable level. So you're going to get that decently quickly. I think that most casual players, assuming you're playing, let's say about 10 hours or so, and you at least know some of what you're doing, I think you could reach Greater Rift 80 within those 10 hours pretty quickly, especially since the leveling process is literally like 30 to 45 minutes now for almost every class in the game. So that's going to be pretty impressive. So one other thing I wanted to mention, guys, and this is something that's going to be super, super important. I think I should do a full video on this because these Tome of Set Dungeon pages at level 19 is going to be something that a lot of people don't even know about. Now, it is going to be pretty decently far in because you're getting an Ancient Hellfire Amulet, which could be a little bit of RNG associated with it, and also 1400 blood shards, which is Greater Rift 90. But I think the big one is going to be the Ancient Hellfire Amulet, RNGing your way to that. You could get at least pretty unlucky for that one. But the set dungeon pages, you're going to want to make sure you keep up your basically your sets, and make sure you have your 4 traditional sets for every class, which means that Kadala legendaries, after you get your damage here, is going to be pretty important if you guys don't have your set already, because you're going to get hard locked on this node if you don't have it. And then of course you can pick up, let's say you go for Kadala legendaries, you can go ahead and pick up, let's say you want to pick up the auto pick and salvage now, and now we have all the nodes that are left are kind of like whatever. I go for boss damage personally. I don't think auto orbs or auto DBs are very, very good. I think by this point Death's Breath ×2 isn't going to be very important. And if you haven't picked up resource on crit, by the way, I should have mentioned earlier, but this node could potentially be really, really good for your build if you need it, or really, really nothing burger if you don't need it. But after that, it's like all the nodes that are left are like damage reduction, maybe quality of life, like auto DBs ×2, or missile damage, which are going to be very, very important as you start to approach like Greater Rift 110, 120 and start speed farming those. You're going to want the extra damage reduction because you might just get one shot. That is something that happens. If you're playing hardcore, you're definitely going to want to pick those up. So that's when you start to pick up the damage node or damage reduction nodes, in my opinion. If you're the better player you are, the more value you're going to get from damage rather than damage reduction, in my opinion, because you'll just be able to avoid more skills and make sure you don't die. But if you're someone that wants to play a little bit safe, you can always pick up the damage reduction. I don't think there's anything really to worry about in that situation. But that's that, guys. That's going to be the, kind of optimal path. I think after you reach around level 18 or so, literally just before you get the set dungeon pages, you kind of have everything that you really want. So the set dungeon pages, I guess, aren't really super insanely important, but it is something that you're going to want to think about, simply for the fact that, well, you're going to be hard locked if you don't have it. And then that might be a little bit annoying. So keep that in mind when you're going through. Thanks for watching, everyone. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. And I am super excited about season 28, so hopefully you are as well. I'll probably be streaming it, since it is 5 p.m. PST, which is going to be, I think, 6 or 7. Actually, I think it's 6 p.m. for me, because I'm Mountain Standard Time over here. So 6 p.m. probably be streaming it, the season start, and see what we can do about it. We'll see. Thanks for watching. See y'all tomorrow.